President Obama, hear the world. We don't want another war.
All right, just introduce yourself and tell us why you're out here today.
I'm Deborah Sweet. I'm the director of World Can't Wait, and we're out here today because it appears that a cruise missile strike sent by the Obama administration into the people of Syria is possibly imminent this weekend, this holiday Labor Day weekend, and we're out here in the middle of Times Square to say no. It couldn't be more direct and urgent than that. This would be a disaster, not only for the people of Syria, but could have widened the war immeasurably. The unintended consequences will be even worse than what happens to the civilians when cruise missiles fire into urban areas, and it's completely outrageous. Another war based on lies.
My name is Ian Hansen, and I'm out here because I want to support the anti-war effort. I think war would be a terrible idea in Syria. I don't think it's going to resolve the problem. I guess the only thing that's at all good about this declaration or this move towards war is it's gotten a lot of people up off their asses thinking, what can we actually do to help Syria?
I'm here because I'm against any U.S. intervention in Syria.
David Katsevich, I'm a student at Brown University. I'm protesting the war against Syria because if there's U.S. intervention in it, it'll only escalate the conflict. Russia has already made moves to intercept U.S. forces, has threatened our allies, Saudi Arabia and Qatar, which are the primary funders of the rebel groups in Syria.
My name is Lee Camp. I'm a comedian and an activist, and I am here because the U.S. doesn't bomb countries to help people and then leave. Like, that doesn't exist, okay? Bombing to help people doesn't really exist in a broader sense. Like, bombs kill and harm a lot of fucking people and destroy a lot of lives. So the idea that we're gonna do a little bomb here and a little bomb there and then everybody's gonna be happy, it doesn't happen.
What do you think is one example that people watching at home should know about Syria and why it should matter to them?
Iraq, a war based on lies. The lie that Iraq had weapons of mass destruction, that was involved in 9/11, and that they had ties to Al-Qaeda. 3 lies that the Bush regime knew was wrong. And all along, over 10 years, 1 million people died because of this war, 4.5 million displaced. The U.S. used white phosphorus. The U.S. used depleted uranium, weapons that are much worse than any kind of chemical so far that anyone in Syria has used. And how dare they say they're going to wage a war in order to stop one use of chemical weapons when it's not even proven who used them.
Syria was for me at least, that when I started to care about Syria is when Syria had the Arab Spring demonstrations, when you had all these people who are out there, just like the people in Tunisia and the people in Egypt who inspired so many people around the world, including the Occupy Wall Street movement here that I was a part of. Syria was a part of that too, and Syria was in some ways showing the most endurance.
We'll do America no good by getting involved in another war in the Middle East. Whether you're right wing or left wing, it does not matter. It's a terrible thing to take lives for no reason.
I think the most important thing for people to realize is that the rebels, there are some good rebels, there are the FSA, there are people who want freedom and democracy in Syria, but of the rebels, they're the minority. The vast majority of the rebels are al-Nusra, al-Qaeda fronts, basically al-Qaeda in Syria. They're jihadist fundamentalists, the same we've been fighting for over a decade now, and if we do support them, what's much more likely than anything else to happen is that there's going to be a fundamentalist government in Syria that's pliable to Saudi Arabian and Qatar interests. That's what the war is about. That's not something we want to support. We don't want to support Assad either. We want a peace and a compromise, hopefully a democratic compromise when the war is over. But we don't want to help the rebels. They're not our friends.
You have people like General Wesley Clark, 4-star general, telling us that he was in the Pentagon. He spoke to people years ago in early 90s, and they said, we're going to go in and uproot 7 countries: Iran, Iraq, Syria, Libya, and most of them we've either done or we've threatened to do, like Iran. And so you have to think, is this really about humanitarian cause? Is this really about the chemical weapons? Or is this about we have energy needs, we have oil needs, we have empire needs, and we build a lot of big fucking weapons and we want to try them out, all right? That's what you have to ask yourself, and I think the answer is no. At this point, you can't prove to me or anyone that this is going to be a lovely, perfect, little strategic strike to save people's lives.
Say to send a message to people out there about the protests, how to get involved, how to start spreading the message about what's going on in Syria.
When you see some kind of disaster like this, when there's violence in the world, where there's oppression, you have to attack that by waging peace. And I think in future we have to know that to do that before the powers that be decide to make war as a way of solving the problem. We're coming to this too late, and that's on us too.
We're just getting the message out, telling people to call their congressmen, their senators, call the White House, email them, put pressure, both direct action like this and through the political channels, to get people to oppose this intervention, because it would be disastrous. It'll only escalate the conflict.
In terms of getting involved, the most important thing is just talk about this shit, all right? Because yes, we happen to be here at this protest, but most of this happens one-on-one. Most of this happens people seeing each other in the street and saying, this is important to me. And don't let people tell you you're too political, all right? When people tell you they're too political, they're equally political. They're taking a stance that the status quo is fine.
People must look at what Chelsea Manning revealed and see how the U.S. functions and understand that this is not a humanitarian war. This is a great danger. It must continue. So stay with us, worldcan'twait.net.
Basically, I'm out here today to support Restore the Fourth, because the Fourth Amendment has been an issue in the community of color for many years, and through the stop, question, and frisk, that policy, we have been feeling what it feels like.
What government wants to do is instill this chilling effect. They want to put a chill on investigative journalism. And journalists have already started to tell us that their sources are drying up a little bit. Soldiers don't want to talk to the press, certainly, because of what happens to Bradley Manning. But we're working to